Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. So today is going to be a bit of a harder topic. I wanted to come on here to just kind of almost explain why I might not be able to record or do videos as often as I would like to. So before I get into the video, I just wanted to put a disclaimer out there. This video mentions topics such as mental health and grief and just the general kind of the struggles of it all. So if you are not in a place to watch something that mentions grief and loss, then please do not watch this video. Go over to my channel and watch something a bit more lighthearted and a bit more kind of funny, and yeah, I've got some videos like that as well. So this one I did get quite emotional, and I just wanted to make sure that you are okay to watch this. If you feel like you want to continue watching, then thank you for watching, and big hug to anyone who is struggling with the same issue that I am. At the end of last week, I had a bereavement. My grandma sadly passed away on the 29th of April, and it was hard. It was very hard. So she had been battling cancer, and we didn't know, because it wasn't like it was a lump, or it was, she didn't feel anything different for ages. So what happened was she was at home. She wasn't feeling great. She had had a fall out of her bed, and my dad had come and picked her up, and she initially didn't feel much pain. So she was in bed, she was sort of taking her regular painkillers, and because she had arthritis, she put the little bit of pain down to that. But in the end, she was taken to hospital. She had a few blood tests, and they discovered that her potassium levels were really, really low, and to the point where they were dangerously low. So an ambulance was sent out at 2 a.m. to go and grab my grandma from bed, basically, and take her to the hospital to give her some more potassium. Whilst in hospital, we found out that, yes, her potassium was now back up to normal levels. We then found out that her cancer was back, and we were told it was bone cancer. Whilst in the general hospital, she went through a few x-rays and a few MRIs and stuff like that, and that's when they discovered the cancer, and they also discovered that she had a fracture, which was unclear. I never got told where it was, but it was in her upper leg. So whether it was her hip, whether it was her pelvis, or whether it was her thigh, I don't know. But all I know is that she had a surgery to put a pole, or like a whatever it is, in her leg, a rod in her leg. So after my grandma had the operation, she came out of it. She was fairly mobile, and she was seeming to sort of turn a corner and get better. We still knew that she had the cancer, and that time was limited and she was going to pass away, but she seemed to be doing okay. But due to her limited mobility and the fact that she had the cancer and her mobility was only going to get worse, my dad and uncles and my granddad decided that the best thing for her, along with her decision as well, was to move her to a care home. So she was moved to a care home about 2 or 3 weeks after she was taken to the general hospital. Whilst in the general hospital, I was able to speak to her a couple of times on the phone, and it was sad. I struggled a lot with that. Even though she was still here, and even though she was still alive, the way that she was speaking over the phone, it made me feel really kind of sad and down, and it made me feel quite like, I don't want to lose you. So in the first conversation, she had it was an okay conversation, but I could tell that she was very drowsy, she was very tired, and so the conversation wasn't that long. The second conversation that I had with her, she was telling me that she wasn't feeling very well, and that she basically was coming to terms with the fact that she wasn't going to be here much longer. She said to me that I needed to go and choose some ornaments or some antiques from her place. And the way she said it made me just burst into tears, but I had to cry silently on the phone because I didn't want to let her know that I was upset. Through this process, I had been contacting the Samaritans, and I had been contacting my parents and everything, just to keep in contact, because they do know, and if you have watched my channel before, you'll know that I do suffer with mental health conditions, and my mood and depression can get very bad very quickly. So my grandma was moved to the care home, and she was put in a room. My mum asked me to send her a photo of me, and I will put on screen the photo that I sent my mum. She then printed them all out. She had a picture of all of us, basically, all of the immediate and close family, and my grandma had them so she could look at them when she was there. About sort of 3 or 4 days into her being there, I had my hair changed, and as if you look at some of my very first videos on this channel, I had long dark brown hair, and I've now changed it to be pink and to have like that dark root, and it's quite asymmetric, so it's very different. So I had a really nice picture of myself with this new haircut, and I will insert the picture to the side now, and you can see the big change basically. So I sent her a card. It was a thinking of you card, and it was because I just knew that she wasn't going to get better. So sending her a get well soon card just wouldn't have been appropriate. But I sent her a really nice card, and I will see if I can find a picture of the front of the card because I was really happy with the way it looked. It just, if I had received that and I was unwell, I would have definitely been happy with it, and I would have liked, that someone was thinking of me. So she got this card and she managed to see my new haircut. She read the fact, and I told her that I loved her, and I said to her in that card, I love you to the moon and back. And that was something that she has said to me, I have said to her, and it's been like our little, our little phrase, especially of late. So actually, now that she has passed away, hopefully once I have saved up a little bit, I really do want to get a tattoo with that quote on me somewhere. I do have a few tattoos and they're all meaningful, and I really think that I wouldn't want to have a grandma tattoo, but I wouldn't mind having a I love you to the moon and back tattoo with like some moons and stars around it. I'm not entirely sure where or anything like that, but I definitely would like to get that done. So if any tattooists are watching, please leave a comment down below because I will definitely be looking around to get that done. So my grandma sadly passed away about a week or so after being moved to the care home. So she passed away on April 29th, 2021. I didn't find out until the next day, and this was because my dad and my uncles were sorting out everything to do with her, and I didn't know she'd passed away. And I got a call from my mum on the 29th in the evening. She didn't say anything. She just asked what I was doing the next day. And me being me, I didn't click to think that they were going to turn up. So the next morning, I went out to the shops, and because I didn't know they were going to turn up, so I was like, okay, I'm just going to go Sainsbury's. I'm just going to pick up a few bits and pieces like bread and milk and just little bits. So I picked up a few bits, and on my way home, I was about 5 minutes from my house, and my mum called me, and she said, "Where are you?" And I said, "Oh, why? I'm just walking back from Sainsbury's." And she said, "Oh, okay. How long will you be?" I said, "About 5 minutes." Why? And she's because we're at yours. And I said, "Oh, who's we?" And she said, "Me and Dad." And I said, "Oh, okay, that's fine. I'll be there in a minute." I still didn't click that it was bad news. I just thought maybe they were coming for a visit. I did think it was a bit strange, though, that they were coming for a visit 6 days after their last visit. They are my support bubble, so they usually come about twice a month, and they'd been the previous weekend, and this was now the Friday after that weekend, so I was a little bit like, why are you visiting 6 days afterwards? So I got in, I opened the door because my parents have been coming through my back door because of the COVID restrictions. So they're my support bubble, so they can come into my flat, but they're not allowed to come through the communal areas or bits and pieces of the actual flat building. So luckily, because I live on the ground floor, they can come through my back door and into my flat. So my parents came in, and my dad basically, I just said, "Oh, hey, what's up? What's the reason for the visit?" And my dad said, we don't bring good news. And I almost knew immediately what he was going to say, but I didn't want to believe it. So he said, Grandma has passed away yesterday. And for a second, I kind of just stared into space, and I was like, is this real? And it didn't hit me until maybe a minute after he told me, when I burst into tears, and I'm getting emotional now, but I didn't really click. And he pulled me into a hug, which is something my dad never does. My dad doesn't hug me. It's just something we've never done. We've never had that hug bond. Yeah, we've had, bond, but we've never really hugged. I would more go to my mum for hugs than my dad. But if I wanted a hug from my dad, I could. But he pulled me into a hug, which is a bit strange. And I cried into his chest, and he said, she's at peace. She's with her mum, and she's out of pain because she was in a lot of pain. And although I knew she was in a lot of pain, I didn't want to believe that she was going to pass away as quickly as she did. So I'm just trying to get through this. So I'm sorry, I'm crying. So after my dad had told me, they offered for me to come to theirs to spend a couple of nights just to make sure that the initial few, like 48, 72 hours was okay. And I said, yes, please, because I knew how my grief with my friend was and how bad it got. And obviously this is now not a friend, this is a family member, so I couldn't imagine what it was going to be like. I went back to my mum's house and I slept on a mattress on the floor for, 2 nights, and I came back on Sunday evening. I came back on Sunday evening and I slept at mine Sunday, and then I had a blood donation appointment on Monday. So if you haven't seen that video, please hit the card up the top, or I will leave a link in the description box below for that video. But basically that video is me going and getting a blood donation. There is no sight of needles or anything. It's literally just like how I felt during the process and step by step what happens. For the week after her death, I didn't I was almost in a trance. I didn't really want to believe it was true. I didn't want to believe that she was gone. I didn't, it was a whole like trance like state. And it didn't hit me until yesterday when I didn't sleep well yesterday night, and I woke up and I just didn't feel myself. I felt really tired, really groggy, really upset. And when I'm tired, I'm more emotional when I'm tired. So I ended up bursting into tears, and I called my friend. She helped calm me down, but I still didn't feel great. So I called the mental health team, and this is where I get a little bit annoyed that, I had spoke to my worker on the Wednesday, and then, I called on the Thursday. So I called yesterday because today's Friday. So Wednesday was harder, but I struggled more in the afternoon and then on Thursday during the day. So I called the CMHT, which is the Community Mental Health Team, on Thursday, which was yesterday, and I called about 1 p.m. So it was about 1 p.m. when I called, and I spoke to the receptionist, who then sort of spoke to put me on hold and got hold of the duty worker, which actually was my care worker, the one who's assigned to my case. But because at my community mental health team, they take it in turns to be on duty, so she was on duty that day. They then said that she had said to the receptionist that she'll call you at some point this afternoon. Well, I never got that call, and it annoyed me a little bit because, yes, I understand that they're stretched, and yes, I understand that they, are human and they can forget. But the fact that they said they were going to call me, and they had 4 and a bit hours to call me, and it was my worker as well, my worker that's assigned to my case, and obviously she's got more than just me, but she's one of my I'm one of her patients. And she said, yeah, I'll call Deeanna back later. I never got that call. I didn't get a message from her. I didn't get a thing to say that she was running late or wasn't going to be able to call. I didn't get anything. We are now about 11 a.m. on Friday, and I still haven't had a call, and I still haven't had any message from her to say, sorry, I didn't call yesterday. So I am a bit upset and a bit annoyed by the fact that they haven't called and they haven't asked if I'm okay. So I will do another video as to my history. My mental health history is very complex. So I think that does warrant a whole extra video for that. So I will do that at some point. But obviously this video was more dedicated to my grandma and to remember her. So in the end, she died on the 29th of April, 2021. And she was 87, I believe, at the time. I haven't fully worked out how old she was, but she lived a good life, and she was in a lot of pain when she died, and that is one of the things that I appreciate. She's not in pain, and I almost think like she's probably looking down on me. Yeah, I'm struggling right now, and I'm struggling to like come to terms with it in a way, because the first week I spent obviously in that trance, and now it's hit me and I'm emotional and I'm all over the place. But I'm trying to keep myself busy, because if I sit down and cry too much, I won't stop crying, and I know I'll just spiral. When I watch these types of videos, I don't like watching them. I don't like watching people on YouTube feel upset, but I also like to feel like I'm not alone. So I thought I would do this video just for anyone out there who's grieving, and especially with like COVID. I know my nan didn't die from COVID, but the grief process is a difficult process, and I just wanted to let anyone know that you're not alone. Grief is hard, and yeah, it's difficult, and I think sometimes being candid and being like completely open on a video can make people feel a bit less alone. So you're not alone. I'm struggling as well. So take a virtual hug from me. Like, we can hug each other virtually. So if you've got this far in the video, thank you very much. And maybe just comment virtual hug underneath in the comments. That would mean a lot to me, and to anyone else who's struggling. So yeah. All right, so that's it for today's video. I hope you have enjoyed watching, and I hope that this video, although difficult, has helped you to feel like you are less alone and you are less, isolated, and that grief affects people in different ways, but it still is hard. So I hope this has helped you to feel less alone, or even just to understand how mental health affects grief and how they kind of make each other worse. So thank you for watching, and I shall see you in my next one.